Thunder rolled across Houston before sunrise, shaking windows and leaving the streets washed in silver rain. Inside a prestigious martial arts academy, polished trophies reflected bright lights while expensive cars filled the parking lot outside. Success lived behind those glass doors, but dignity did not belong to everyone who entered. Every visitor admired the champions displayed along the walls. Almost nobody noticed the quiet custodian pushing a mop across the polished floors before dawn. His name was Marcus Ellison. Most people never bothered to learn it. Marcus was 39 years old, disciplined, soft-spoken, and physically lean. His calm manner encouraged strangers to mistake patience for weakness. Every morning, he unlocked the service entrance before instructors arrived. He cleaned mirrors, scrubbed training mats, emptied trash bins, and disappeared before the first wealthy clients entered. His faded grey work uniform never attracted attention. Neither did the worn boots supporting a body shaped by decades of relentless discipline. The Academy's members viewed him as another maintenance worker. None imagined he carried memories that stretched far beyond those polished floors. Years earlier, Marcus had served his country with quiet distinction. He spent more than a decade training military personnel in defensive close-quarters techniques where control mattered more than violence. He understood restraint better than aggression. Every movement had once protected lives instead of entertaining crowds. After an injury ended his military career, he refused publicity and rejected opportunities promising fame. He rented a modest apartment, accepted honest work, and searched for peace instead of recognition. Every evening, he practiced alone inside a small rented garage, preserving skills nobody around him ever suspected existed. Across the academy, another life unfolded beneath constant admiration. Cameron Brooks, the owner's ambitious son, enjoyed applause almost as much as breathing. At 29, he possessed confidence sharpened by privilege rather than hardship. His social media audience celebrated dramatic demonstrations, carefully edited victories, and motivational speeches delivered before expensive cameras. Thousands praised his confidence without realizing most opponents appearing beside him lacked meaningful experience. Cameron believed popularity proved greatness. Every compliment strengthened his certainty that respect belonged naturally to him. Anyone beneath his social status became invisible unless humiliation offered entertainment. Marcus soon became Cameron's favorite target. Sharp jokes gradually transformed into daily insults. Cameron mocked his uniform, questioned his intelligence, and invented nicknames that reduced a hard-working man into a punchline. Wealthy students laughed because remaining silent felt uncomfortable. A few looked away with embarrassment, unwilling to challenge the instructor controlling their promotions. Only one student consistently acknowledged Marcus with genuine kindness. Her name was Vanessa Reed, a paralegal who understood how ordinary people often suffered quietly beneath public confidence. She sensed growing cruelty, but lacked proof strong enough to confront it directly. Late one rainy Friday afternoon, advanced students gathered for an elite striking seminar. Cameron paced confidently across the training floor, correcting techniques while cameras recorded promotional footage. Marcus quietly mopped the hallway outside, hoping to finish before evening classes ended. Cameron suddenly noticed him through the open doorway. His smile changed immediately. He called Marcus inside with exaggerated politeness that fooled nobody familiar with his behavior. Conversation stopped. Every face turned toward the exhausted custodian carrying his mop across spotless training mats. Marcus obeyed without complaint because experience had taught him humiliation often ended sooner when answered with silence. Cameron pointed toward a tiny mark near the edge of the mat and demanded immediate cleaning. Marcus knelt without protest, carefully wiping the surface until it looked perfect. Instead of thanking him, Cameron tossed the cleaning cloth across the room and insisted the job remained unfinished. He ordered Marcus to clean again, using only his bare hands, while several students nervously exchanged uncomfortable glances. Nervous laughter echoed through the academy. Vanessa quietly reached into her gym bag and confirmed her phone battery remained fully charged. Something inside her warned this humiliation would not remain harmless much longer. Marcus finished cleaning exactly as instructed. Cameron casually patted his head before dismissing him like unwanted furniture. The room laughed again, although fewer voices joined the mockery this time. Marcus stood slowly, picked up his mop, and walked toward the hallway without looking back. His hands trembled almost invisibly beneath steady breathing. The trembling came from discipline, fighting against instinct rather than fear. Years of training had taught him the greatest victory often required refusing to strike. Yet deep inside, another lesson whispered that endless silence sometimes encouraged cruelty instead of ending it. Outside, thunder echoed again across the darkening city, while Vanessa quietly unlocked her phone and began preparing for whatever tomorrow might bring. Saturday arrived beneath heavy grey skies that left Houston wrapped in humid silence. Rainwater collected along sidewalks while traffic moved slowly beneath flashing lights. Marcus unlocked the academy before sunrise, exactly as he always had. The previous evening's humiliation still echoed inside his thoughts, yet his routine never changed. He swept the entrance, disinfected equipment, polished mirrors, and quietly prepared another day for people who rarely noticed his existence. Every careful movement reflected years of discipline instead of resentment. To Marcus, honest work remained honorable regardless of who witnessed it. Cameron entered shortly after sunrise, carrying expensive coffee and smiling at his phone. Overnight, someone had uploaded a short clip showing Marcus kneeling on the training mat. The video spread quickly across social media, gathering thousands of reactions before breakfast. Strangers laughed without understanding the full story. Others applauded Cameron's supposed confidence and leadership. Every notification inflated his ego further. Instead of recognizing criticism hidden among supportive comments, he focused only on praise. Public attention became another addiction, feeding his hunger for validation. Throughout the morning, Cameron deliberately repeated smaller acts of disrespect whenever students surrounded him. He ordered Marcus to reposition equipment already perfectly aligned. He criticized spotless floors while deliberately dropping water onto freshly cleaned surfaces. Several students laughed automatically, unwilling to challenge the academy owner's son. Others exchanged uncertain looks before lowering their eyes. Vanessa watched every interaction carefully. She recognized a dangerous pattern emerging. Cruelty, repeated often enough, eventually stopped feeling shocking. It became accepted culture, and that realization disturbed her more than Cameron's words alone. Marcus refused every opportunity to argue. His silence confused newer students who expected anger or visible humiliation. They misunderstood restraint as surrender. Inside, however, Marcus carefully measured every insult against principles learned long before entering civilian life. Self-control demanded daily practice. Reacting emotionally rewarded bullies seeking attention. He reminded himself repeatedly that dignity could survive public embarrassment if character remained intact. Nevertheless, every unnecessary insult added invisible weight to burdens he already carried alone. During the afternoon class, Cameron called Marcus back onto the training floor under the excuse of demonstrating proper balance during striking drills. He placed a large kicking shield into Marcus's hands and instructed him to stand perfectly still. Before Marcus fully settled his footing, Cameron delivered an unnecessarily powerful kick that drove the shield backward with explosive force. Marcus absorbed the impact without falling, though pain traveled sharply across his shoulders. Several students applauded the demonstration while cameras recorded every second. Cameron grinned broadly, treating another person's discomfort like successful entertainment. Later that evening, Marcus discovered his weekly schedule had changed without explanation. Nearly half his regular shifts disappeared. The receptionist avoided eye contact while quietly handing him the revised schedule. She apologized softly, explaining management wanted fewer evening employees. Marcus immediately understood the real reason. Reduced hours meant reduced income. His rent, utility bills, and groceries already consumed nearly every paycheck. Losing work threatened the stability he had spent years rebuilding after military service. Still, he folded the schedule neatly and thanked her with sincere kindness before returning to work. As darkness settled across Houston, Cameron found Marcus alone inside the equipment storage room. The cheerful personality shown online disappeared immediately behind closed doors. Cameron leaned casually against stacked training mats while speaking with unsettling confidence. He explained that continued employment depended entirely upon cooperation. More videos would be filmed. More jokes would be made. Marcus simply needed to obey without complaint if he wished to keep paying his bills. Cameron smiled throughout the conversation as though discussing harmless business instead of deliberate intimidation. Marcus looked directly into Cameron's eyes for perhaps the first time since accepting the job. His voice remained calm and respectful. He answered that he only wanted to clean the building honestly and return home each evening without causing trouble. Cameron interpreted that response as weakness instead of quiet strength. He stepped closer, lowered his voice, and promised the humiliation would continue until Marcus learned his place. Then he walked away, laughing, leaving silence behind him. Vanessa happened to pass the storage hallway moments later. She noticed Marcus standing motionless beside shelves filled with cleaning supplies. He appeared composed, yet something within his expression had changed. It was not anger, it was careful calculation, the look of someone evaluating choices carrying serious consequences. Vanessa realized words alone would never protect him. She quietly began collecting screenshots, saving online videos, and documenting every incident she witnessed. She still hoped evidence would never become necessary. Deep inside, however, she feared the worst confrontation had not yet arrived. Outside, another storm gathered over Houston, and the academy felt strangely darker than before. Monday arrived beneath bright sunshine that contrasted sharply with the tension inside the academy. Expensive vehicles lined the parking lot, while confident professionals entered expecting another polished training session. Marcus unlocked the service entrance before dawn exactly as always. He quietly swept leaves from the sidewalk, filled cleaning buckets, and prepared every room before anyone noticed his presence. Routine remained his anchor. Every completed task reminded him that discipline survived, even when respect disappeared. Meanwhile, Cameron celebrated growing online popularity. The previous weekend's videos continued attracting thousands of new followers. Several fitness brands contacted him about promotional opportunities. Instead of questioning whether humiliation should generate profit, he viewed every sponsorship inquiry as proof that his methods worked. His father, Gregory Brooks, owner of the academy, admired the increasing online engagement despite privately recognizing Cameron's arrogance. Financial success softened ethical concerns. Gregory convinced himself that internet drama eventually faded while business growth remained permanent. That afternoon, Cameron introduced what he jokingly called audience participation. During a crowded advanced class, he invited several experienced students onto the mat before pointing toward Marcus. He loudly announced that every gym needed comic relief. Marcus was instructed to stand still while volunteers demonstrated basic control positions. The explanation sounded harmless, yet everyone understood the real purpose. Cameras appeared almost immediately. Several students hesitated before participating. Others stepped forward eagerly, encouraged by Cameron's confidence and the excitement of performing for online viewers. Marcus allowed each demonstration without resistance. He carefully protected inexperienced students from accidental injury while never revealing the ease with which he could escape every hold. Years of professional instruction had conditioned him to value safety above pride. Cameron interpreted that restraint as helplessness. He mocked Marcus's balance, strength, and courage after each exercise. Laughter echoed across the room, though noticeably fewer voices joined now. Vanessa stood near the back wall, recording quietly. Every unnecessary insult strengthened the growing collection of evidence stored securely on her phone. After class, Marcus drove home through slow evening traffic beneath orange sunset skies. His apartment remained small but peaceful. Family photographs rested beside military commendations tucked discreetly inside a wooden cabinet. He rarely displayed them publicly because those accomplishments belonged to another chapter of life. He prepared a simple dinner, reviewed monthly expenses, and realized reduced work hours left almost nothing after rent. Financial pressure quietly settled across his shoulders. Yet instead of surrendering to frustration, he changed into old athletic clothes and entered the detached garage behind his building. Dust covered a heavy training bag hanging from reinforced ceiling beams. Worn boxing gloves rested neatly beside faded instructional manuals. Marcus wrapped his hands slowly before standing silently in front of the bag. For several minutes he simply breathed, allowing old memories to surface naturally. Then his body moved almost without conscious thought. Smooth footwork replaced hesitation. Controlled combinations flowed effortlessly from years of disciplined repetition. Every strike stopped inches short of reckless power. Every defensive movement reflected precision instead of aggression. The garage echoed with steady rhythm rather than uncontrolled violence. Across town, Vanessa met an old friend for coffee after work. Her friend, Alicia Bennett, worked as an attorney specializing in workplace harassment and civil rights. Vanessa described everything she had witnessed during recent weeks without exaggeration. Alicia listened carefully before asking one important question. Was anyone preserving original recordings before they disappeared online? Vanessa smiled slightly and admitted she had already begun downloading every public post. Alicia nodded with approval. Digital evidence often vanished once lawsuits appeared. Preserving authentic copies could eventually prove invaluable. Tuesday morning brought another calculated humiliation. Cameron ordered Marcus to stand beside the entrance greeting arriving members while wearing a ridiculous promotional sign advertising beginner classes. Wealthy clients chuckled politely, assuming everyone participated willingly. Marcus complied without argument because refusing publicly would likely cost his remaining hours immediately. Vanessa watched several longtime members lower their heads with visible discomfort. Quiet shame spread through the building. More students recognized cruelty, yet almost nobody challenged the instructor responsible for creating it. Late that evening, Gregory called Cameron into his office, overlooking the empty training floor. Instead of criticizing his son's behavior, he discussed social media analytics, rising enrollment inquiries, and sponsorship projections. Gregory admitted public controversy occasionally increased business faster than traditional advertising. Cameron left the meeting convinced his father fully supported every decision. Neither man realized success built upon humiliation rarely remained stable forever. Somewhere beyond the academy walls, consequences had already begun gathering strength. Vanessa continued organizing evidence, Marcus continued practicing alone, and the coming confrontation quietly moved one irreversible step closer. By Thursday evening, Houston's humid air felt unusually heavy, as though another storm waited just beyond the skyline. Inside Brooks Elite Combat Center, anticipation spread faster than conversation. Cameron walked confidently across the training floor while checking comments beneath his newest promotional post. Thousands of viewers had already promised to watch his upcoming live event. They expected another performance filled with jokes, humiliation, and easy entertainment. Cameron intended to deliver exactly that. Every notification strengthened his belief that popularity erased responsibility. Marcus sensed the atmosphere changing the moment he arrived for work. Students whispered more frequently whenever he passed. Several looked embarrassed before quickly turning away. Others glanced toward Cameron with forced smiles, hoping to remain accepted within the academy's inner circle. Marcus continued cleaning mirrors and organizing equipment without acknowledging the attention. His peaceful routine remained the only part of life still fully under his control. Quiet discipline became his shield against an increasingly hostile environment. Near sunset, Cameron gathered several instructors inside the main training room and announced a special live demonstration scheduled for Friday night. He promised an unforgettable event that would attract record online engagement. According to Cameron, the academy needed bold content to stay ahead of competitors. Gregory listened from the office balcony without objecting. His silence carried more weight than approval spoken aloud. Employees understood the owner's position immediately. Whatever happened during the demonstration would proceed without interference. Vanessa's concern deepened after overhearing the conversation. She quietly stepped outside, sat inside her parked car, and called Alicia Bennett. Together, they reviewed every recording already collected during previous weeks. Alicia warned that escalating public humiliation often crossed legal boundaries once coercion or intimidation became involved. She urged Vanessa to continue documenting everything exactly as it happened. Facts mattered more than assumptions. Evidence remained stronger than emotion. Vanessa promised she would keep recording no matter how uncomfortable the situation became. That night, Cameron uploaded a dramatic announcement across every social media platform. The promotional image displayed bright lights, championship belts, and a countdown clock. The caption promised viewers they would witness an arrogant employee finally learning respect. Thousands responded within minutes, using laughing emojis and predictions about Marcus's humiliation. Others questioned whether publicly targeting an employee crossed ethical lines. Cameron ignored every critical comment while enthusiastically replying to supporters. Controversy only expanded his audience. Marcus eventually saw the announcement after returning home. He placed his phone on the kitchen table without reacting outwardly. His modest apartment remained quiet, except for distant thunder rumbling across the city. After preparing a simple meal, he entered his garage, carrying a roll of athletic tape. Instead of immediately training, he opened an old military notebook filled with handwritten reminders gathered over years of instruction. Every page emphasized restraint, awareness, accountability, and proportional response. Strength existed to prevent unnecessary harm, never to satisfy wounded pride. He wrapped his hands carefully before facing the heavy training bag. Slow movements gradually became faster. Defensive angles blended seamlessly into controlled takedowns, practiced against memory rather than opponents. Marcus never imagined victory, he imagined survival. Every repetition reinforced one simple principle. If conflict became unavoidable, end it safely and immediately. Nothing more. Sweat covered his forehead while rain began falling steadily against the garage roof. The rhythm sounded strangely peaceful. Shortly before midnight, Marcus received an unexpected phone call from Vanessa. Her normally steady voice carried unmistakable concern. She explained that Cameron intended to live-stream the event before a full audience. She believed the demonstration had little to do with martial arts and everything to do with public humiliation. Marcus listened silently before thanking her for the warning. Vanessa asked what he planned to do if forced onto the training floor. Marcus paused for several long seconds before answering honestly. He would protect himself only if absolutely necessary. Nothing else. Friday arrived beneath dark clouds and restless winds. By late afternoon, expensive cars overflowed the academy parking lot. Visitors arrived carrying smartphones instead of training bags. Curious spectators filled every available space around the competition mat, while camera tripods pointed toward the center like silent witnesses waiting for history. Cameron wore a spotless black uniform embroidered with gold lettering across the chest. He smiled confidently while greeting viewers joining the livestream. Marcus quietly finished storing cleaning supplies inside the hallway closet. He had not changed clothes. His faded gray work uniform remained damp from honest labor. Then Cameron clapped loudly, looked toward the hallway, and ordered 2 students to bring the janitor onto the mat. Every conversation instantly stopped. The academy fell silent as Marcus stepped through the hallway, carrying nothing except his worn cleaning gloves. More than 50 people surrounded the central training mat. Bright lights reflected from polished mirrors, while several cameras streamed the event live across multiple platforms. Thousands of viewers joined within minutes, expecting another performance built around ridicule. The atmosphere resembled a sporting event more than a martial arts class. Nobody seemed interested in dignity anymore. Entertainment had replaced respect. Marcus walked forward calmly without rushing or resisting. 2 senior students remained beside him, not physically forcing him, but making it clear he was expected to continue. Cameron welcomed the online audience with theatrical confidence before introducing Marcus as the evening's special volunteer. The word volunteer echoed strangely through the room because everyone present understood Marcus had never agreed to participate. He simply stood quietly near the center of the mat, breathing evenly while waiting for instructions. Vanessa positioned herself near the second row, where her view remained unobstructed. She activated the highest recording quality available on her phone before pressing the record button. Every face, every statement, and every movement would remain preserved exactly as it happened. Alicia had reminded her repeatedly that complete context mattered more than dramatic highlights. Vanessa kept both hands steady despite her racing heartbeat. Something irreversible was about to happen, and instinct told her no second opportunity would exist. Cameron slowly circled Marcus while speaking loudly enough for both spectators and livestream viewers to hear. He joked about expensive tuition supporting free entertainment. He mocked Marcus's age, appearance, and occupation before asking whether anyone believed a janitor belonged inside a championship academy. Scattered laughter answered him, though many people remained completely silent. Several students shifted uncomfortably without leaving. Deep inside, they recognized the line between confidence and cruelty had disappeared long before tonight. Marcus never interrupted. His eyes remained focused on Cameron rather than the surrounding crowd. Years of professional training had conditioned him to observe breathing, balance, posture, and emotional state before anything else. Cameron mistook that quiet attention for nervousness. Confident opponents often overlooked disciplined observation because arrogance rarely expected resistance. Gregory watched proudly from the office balcony overlooking the training floor. He folded his arms while cameras continued broadcasting every second to an audience growing larger by the minute. Finally, Cameron stepped backward and raised both hands dramatically. He announced that Marcus would receive a practical lesson demonstrating the difference between ordinary people and real fighters. Without waiting for any response, Cameron adopted an aggressive stance before inviting applause from the audience. Cheers echoed through the building. Marcus remained standing naturally with relaxed shoulders and open hands. To inexperienced observers, he appeared completely unprepared. To anyone trained professionally, his posture reflected remarkable balance and extraordinary self-control. Cameron attacked first. He launched a fast roundhouse kick aimed toward Marcus's ribs, expecting another dramatic reaction for the cameras. Instead, Marcus shifted only one precise step sideways. The kick sliced harmlessly through empty space. Cameron's momentum carried him slightly forward before he recovered. That tiny imbalance lasted less than a second. Marcus recognized the opening immediately. Years of disciplined repetition transformed instinct into effortless action. Without striking, Marcus moved inside Cameron's reach. He lowered his center of gravity, secured Cameron's leg with controlled precision, and redirected his balance using smooth leverage instead of force. Cameron lost stable footing almost instantly. The academy echoed with a heavy impact as he landed flat across the mat. Gasps replaced laughter. Phones remained raised, but nobody cheered now. Marcus transitioned smoothly into a secure control position, keeping Cameron restrained without delivering a single punch or kick. Every movement remained calm, measured, and completely intentional. Cameron struggled desperately, trying to break free while anger replaced confidence across his face. Marcus tightened his position only enough to maintain control. He neither shouted nor celebrated. His breathing never changed. Seconds passed before Cameron's frantic resistance weakened. Realizing escape had become impossible, he struck the mat repeatedly with an open hand, signaling immediate submission. Marcus released him at once, stepped backward respectfully, and lowered his hands. He offered no insults, no victory pose, and no dramatic speech. He simply picked up the mop resting beside the wall and quietly walked toward the storage hallway. Behind him, complete silence filled the academy. Then one pair of hands began clapping. Another joined. Within moments, the room erupted as stunned spectators finally understood they had witnessed not violence, but the overwhelming power of disciplined restraint. Upstairs, Gregory's confident expression disappeared for the very first time. The applause faded slowly, replaced by stunned whispers that spread across the academy like a sudden change in weather. Cameron remained seated on the mat, breathing heavily while trying to understand what had happened. His expensive uniform was twisted, his confidence shattered, and every camera in the building had captured the moment from multiple angles. Marcus never looked back. Carrying his mop over one shoulder, he disappeared into the service hallway exactly as though he had simply finished another ordinary task. Vanessa stopped recording only after Marcus disappeared from view. Her hands trembled for the first time that evening. She immediately saved the video to her phone, uploaded a secure backup to cloud storage, and sent an encrypted copy to Alicia Bennett. Years of legal experience had taught Alicia that evidence often disappeared when powerful people realized the truth had been documented. Vanessa refused to let that happen. Every second of the confrontation remained preserved exactly as it occurred. Meanwhile, Cameron struggled to stand, while embarrassed students avoided eye contact. Only minutes earlier, they had expected another public humiliation directed toward Marcus. Instead, they had witnessed something entirely different. Marcus had demonstrated extraordinary control without throwing a single strike. Several experienced martial artists quietly admitted they had never seen defensive restraint executed with such precision. The silence surrounding Cameron felt heavier than any insult he had ever directed toward another person. Gregory descended quickly from his office, overlooking the training floor. His expression remained controlled, but frustration burned beneath every measured word. He ordered staff members to stop recording immediately and demanded everyone leave the building. Cameras were lowered reluctantly. Spectators exited while whispering excitedly about what they had witnessed. Outside, dozens of people replayed short clips before uploading them across social media. Within an hour, edited videos began spreading faster than anyone inside the academy could contain. Marcus finished storing cleaning equipment before quietly changing into an old jacket. No manager attempted to stop him. No instructor apologized. He simply clocked out at the end of his shift and walked into the cool evening air. Rain had finally stopped, leaving Houston's streets shining beneath rows of streetlights. His phone remained silent during the drive home because very few people possessed his number. He welcomed the quiet. Public attention had never interested him. Peace remained far more valuable than recognition. Across the city, however, Cameron's livestream exploded online. Viewers replayed the decisive exchange repeatedly. Martial arts instructors praised Marcus's composure. Military veterans recognized techniques requiring years of disciplined training. Others criticized Cameron's treatment of an employee long before the confrontation began. Thousands demanded the full, unedited recording instead of short promotional clips. Public opinion shifted rapidly as older videos resurfaced, showing repeated humiliation disguised as entertainment. Gregory called an emergency meeting with the Academy's marketing advisor and family attorney before midnight. Their greatest concern was no longer Cameron's embarrassment, it was financial damage. Sponsorship opportunities suddenly disappeared. Parents cancelled trial memberships. Critical reviews flooded business pages. The attorney advised immediate public relations action before the situation grew worse. Gregory agreed to release an official statement portraying Marcus as an unstable employee who unexpectedly attacked an instructor during a voluntary demonstration. Cameron embraced the strategy immediately because admitting the truth felt impossible. Early Saturday morning, local news outlets aired carefully edited footage supplied by the Academy. Interviews featured Gregory expressing disappointment while insisting employee safety had always remained a priority. Cameron appeared wearing a supportive brace around one shoulder, describing himself as the victim of an unexpected assault. Important context vanished completely. Viewers never saw the weeks of humiliation, the public insults, or the coercion leading to the confrontation. The narrative changed almost overnight. Marcus first learned about the accusations while buying groceries at a neighborhood market. Several strangers recognized his face from television before whispering among themselves. Confused, he returned home and watched the morning broadcasts in silence. Every report repeated the same misleading version of events. He switched off the television without anger, sat quietly beside his kitchen window, and stared at the rain beginning again outside. His peaceful life had changed forever in less than 24 hours. Then his phone rang. The unfamiliar caller introduced herself as Alicia Bennett. Her first words were calm but urgent. "Marcus, don't say anything publicly yet. We have your side of the story, and now we need to protect it before someone buries the truth completely." By Monday morning, the story had divided Houston. Television stations repeated the Academy's carefully prepared statement every hour, while social media circulated short clips showing Marcus restraining Cameron with remarkable precision. Without the complete context, public opinion fractured into opposing camps. Some believed Marcus had attacked without justification. Others questioned why an experienced instructor appeared unable to defend himself. The truth remained buried beneath edited footage and emotional headlines. Marcus stayed silent, refusing to answer reporters gathering outside his apartment complex. That afternoon, Alicia Bennett arrived with another attorney, Nathan Brooks, a former military legal officer who had spent years defending veterans facing civil disputes. Nathan carried a weathered leather briefcase filled with legal pads instead of expensive presentation folders. After introducing himself, he listened quietly while Marcus described every event from the first insult until the moment he walked away carrying his mop. Nathan interrupted only to clarify dates, witnesses, and specific conversations. When Marcus finished, the room remained silent for several long seconds. Nathan finally spoke with calm certainty. He explained that isolated video clips rarely determined legal outcomes. Complete timelines, documented patterns, and credible witnesses mattered far more inside a courtroom than dramatic headlines. Vanessa then arrived carrying a portable hard drive containing every recording, screenshot, and archived social media post she had collected over several weeks. Alicia placed each file into chronological order. Together, they reconstructed the entire campaign of humiliation from beginning to end. Viewed without interruption, the pattern became impossible to ignore. Meanwhile, Gregory officially filed a civil lawsuit accusing Marcus of assault, emotional distress, and financial damages resulting from reputational harm to the academy. Cameron appeared beside his father during a press conference wearing a neatly pressed suit and a carefully rehearsed expression of disappointment. He claimed he had invited Marcus onto the mat only to encourage confidence and teamwork. According to Cameron, the confrontation had become violent without warning. Reporters recorded every statement, while flashing cameras illuminated his carefully practiced performance. Marcus watched the press conference only once. Instead of anger, he felt disappointment deeper than words could describe. He had spent years believing honest work eventually earned quiet respect. Now, the very people responsible for humiliating him publicly portrayed themselves as victims. Nathan noticed Marcus lowering his eyes and reminded him that truth often moved slower than falsehood. Lies attracted attention immediately. Facts required patience, evidence, and persistence. Marcus nodded quietly. Military service had taught him endurance long before life demanded it again. Over the following days, Nathan's legal team gathered additional testimony from former academy members. Several ex-students described repeated bullying, disguised as instruction. One former employee admitted Cameron frequently staged embarrassing situations specifically to create viral online content. Another revealed internal messages encouraging staff to remain silent because controversy increased enrollment. Every new statement strengthened the larger picture. What initially appeared to be one isolated confrontation gradually revealed an established culture built upon intimidation, humiliation, and profit. Vanessa also contacted several current students privately. Many hesitated, fearing retaliation or public attention. Eventually, two agreed to provide written statements confirming Marcus had never volunteered for the demonstration. Both described seeing Cameron order students to bring Marcus onto the mat, despite obvious reluctance. One admitted feeling ashamed for remaining silent that evening. Nathan thanked each witness personally, emphasizing that honesty often required greater courage than physical strength. Outside the legal battle, Marcus struggled with practical realities. His reduced income disappeared completely after the academy terminated his employment. Rent notices accumulated beside unopened utility bills. Despite growing public interest, Marcus rejected paid television interviews and sponsorship offers, encouraging dramatic confrontations. Nathan supported that decision completely. Character mattered most when circumstances tempted people toward easy money or public revenge. Marcus refused to exchange one form of exploitation for another. Late Friday evening, Nathan called with important news. The court had scheduled an initial hearing sooner than expected because of intense public attention surrounding the case. Every major news organization planned to attend. Nathan sounded confident, but he also warned Marcus that powerful people rarely surrendered influence without resistance. Marcus thanked him before ending the call. He looked toward the old military notebook resting beside his kitchen table, then quietly closed it. The next battle would not be fought with technique or physical strength. It would depend entirely upon truth, evidence, and the courage of ordinary people willing to stand beside someone they once overlooked. Wednesday morning arrived with clear skies above downtown Houston, but tension filled every hallway inside the Harris County Courthouse. Reporters gathered outside before sunrise while satellite news trucks crowded nearby streets. Curious spectators formed quiet lines outside the courtroom doors, hoping to witness the case that had divided public opinion for weeks. Marcus arrived wearing the only suit he owned, carefully pressed despite years of use. He walked beside Nathan Brooks without speaking, carrying himself with the same quiet discipline that had guided every difficult chapter of his life. Inside the courtroom, Gregory Brooks sat confidently beside Cameron, and an experienced legal team hired at considerable expense. Their polished appearance reflected preparation and influence. Across the aisle, Marcus occupied a simple chair beside Nathan, Vanessa, and Alicia. No dramatic display surrounded them. They brought only organized evidence, written testimony, and confidence built upon documented truth. The contrast between both sides quietly revealed two very different philosophies. One relied upon appearance, the other relied upon facts. The hearing opened with Gregory's attorney presenting Marcus as a dangerous former military instructor who had used specialized combat training against an unprepared civilian. He argued that Marcus possessed skills capable of causing serious injury and therefore carried greater responsibility to avoid physical confrontation. Cameron testified calmly, repeating the same narrative shared during earlier interviews. He insisted Marcus had accepted the demonstration willingly before attacking without warning. His voice remained steady, but his eyes rarely met those of the judge. Nathan rose slowly after the testimony concluded. He thanked Cameron politely before beginning a series of measured questions. Rather than arguing immediately, Nathan asked simple factual questions requiring direct answers. Had Marcus ever signed a participation waiver? No. Had anyone requested verbal consent before bringing him onto the mat? No. Did Cameron personally instruct students to escort Marcus from the hallway into the training area? After a long pause, Cameron admitted that he had. Quiet murmurs spread through the courtroom before the judge requested silence. Nathan then requested permission to present Vanessa's complete recording. Unlike the edited clips shown repeatedly on television, this version began several minutes before any physical contact occurred. The courtroom watched Cameron publicly mock Marcus, invite laughter, and repeatedly describe him as little more than entertainment. They watched two students escort Marcus toward the center of the mat after Cameron ordered them to do so. Nobody heard Marcus volunteer. Nobody saw him behave aggressively. The atmosphere inside the courtroom changed noticeably as the recording continued. The decisive moment arrived when the judge requested the physical confrontation be replayed at half speed. Every movement appeared deliberate rather than violent. Marcus avoided the initial attack without striking. He used controlled leverage instead of reckless force. Most importantly, he released Cameron immediately after the clear submission signal. Nathan invited an independent martial arts expert, previously approved by both legal teams, to explain each movement objectively. The instructor confirmed Marcus demonstrated exceptional restraint throughout the encounter and intentionally avoided opportunities to inflict unnecessary harm. Nathan's final presentation proved even more damaging. Vanessa's archived recordings displayed weeks of repeated humiliation, online mockery, and staged demonstrations targeting Marcus specifically. Financial records obtained during discovery revealed that Cameron's most successful online content consistently featured those incidents. The courtroom learned that advertising revenue increased dramatically each time another humiliating video appeared. What had been described publicly as harmless entertainment now resembled a calculated business strategy built upon exploiting another human being. Gregory's attorney attempted to challenge the evidence, arguing that online popularity remained irrelevant to the legal dispute. The judge disagreed. She explained that the recordings established a documented pattern directly related to intent, credibility, and the events leading to the confrontation. One by one, former students testified about similar experiences involving intimidation and public embarrassment. Their accounts differed in detail, but matched in overall pattern. By late afternoon, even reporters recognized the case had shifted dramatically away from its original narrative. As proceedings ended for the day, the judge announced that a final decision would be delivered after reviewing the complete evidence and legal arguments. Outside the courthouse, reporters rushed toward both parties. Gregory declined further questions. Cameron avoided every camera entirely. Marcus paused only once before entering Nathan's car. A young veteran standing behind the crowd quietly saluted him without speaking. Marcus returned the gesture with a respectful nod before driving away. The verdict had not yet been announced, but for the first time since everything began, the truth no longer stood alone. A cold breeze swept across downtown Houston on the morning the court reconvened. Reporters filled the courthouse steps long before the doors opened, speaking into cameras while spectators waited patiently behind security barriers. News helicopters circled overhead, transforming an ordinary legal proceeding into a national story about dignity, accountability, and the consequences of public humiliation. Marcus arrived quietly with Nathan Brooks, Vanessa Reed, and Alicia Bennett. He carried no expectation of celebration. He wanted only the truth to receive the same attention that falsehood had enjoyed. Inside the courtroom, the atmosphere felt completely different from the previous hearing. Gregory Brooks no longer displayed the confidence that had accompanied his first appearance. Cameron sat silently beside his attorneys, avoiding eye contact with nearly everyone around him. The gallery included veterans, local instructors, community leaders, and several former academy students who had decided to attend after learning their testimonies had encouraged others to speak. Their presence reflected something larger than one lawsuit. It reflected a community refusing to ignore injustice any longer. The judge entered promptly and reviewed her written findings with measured clarity. She explained that the complete evidence established a consistent pattern of deliberate humiliation directed toward Marcus over an extended period. The court recognized repeated coercion, workplace intimidation, and public exploitation designed to generate financial benefit through online engagement. Most importantly, the evidence demonstrated that Marcus had not initiated the confrontation. He had responded only after being placed in an unavoidable situation created entirely by others. The judge continued by addressing the physical encounter itself. Expert testimony confirmed Marcus used the minimum force reasonably necessary to stop an immediate threat. He delivered no strikes, applied no excessive pressure, and released his hold immediately after Cameron signaled submission. The court therefore concluded Marcus's actions constituted lawful self-defense rather than assault. Every civil claim filed against him was dismissed in full. The courtroom remained silent for one long moment before quiet relief spread across dozens of faces. The ruling did not end there. After reviewing the broader evidence, the judge referred documented workplace conduct to appropriate state agencies for independent investigation. She also ordered Gregory and Cameron to preserve all digital records connected to their online content pending further review. The decision carried consequences extending far beyond financial liability. Years of carefully protected reputation suddenly rested upon evidence they themselves had created and published. Outside the courthouse, journalists rushed to capture reactions. Gregory's legal team declined interviews before leaving through a side entrance. Cameron walked quickly behind them without speaking. Their earlier confidence had disappeared beneath the weight of undeniable facts. Across social media, major news organizations updated headlines within minutes. Earlier reports describing Marcus as an aggressor were quietly replaced by new stories emphasizing documented harassment, workplace abuse, and remarkable restraint under pressure. Public opinion shifted with astonishing speed. Marcus stood before microphones only after Nathan encouraged him to say whatever felt honest. He thanked the court for carefully examining the complete evidence instead of isolated moments removed from context. He thanked Vanessa for refusing to look away when silence seemed easier. He thanked every former student who found the courage to tell the truth, despite fear of criticism. Then he surprised reporters by refusing to insult Cameron or Gregory. Revenge, he explained, would only continue the cycle that had caused so much harm already. Later that afternoon, Marcus returned alone to his small apartment. The media frenzy remained outside while quiet filled the familiar rooms inside. He placed the court documents neatly beside old military certificates before preparing a simple cup of coffee. For the first time in many weeks, he allowed himself to breathe without expecting another accusation or unexpected phone call. Peace felt unfamiliar, yet deeply welcome. He understood that legal victory could never erase painful memories, but it could create space for healing and new beginnings. As evening settled over Houston, Marcus received one final call from Nathan. Several community organizations had contacted his office after the ruling. They wanted to meet Marcus about leading a youth self-defense and leadership program focused on discipline, confidence, and conflict prevention. Nathan believed the opportunity represented something far more meaningful than employment. It offered the chance to transform personal suffering into lasting purpose. Marcus looked through his apartment window toward children playing basketball beneath glowing streetlights. A quiet smile crossed his face for the first time in months. He answered that he would gladly attend the meeting, unaware that the most important chapter of his life had not happened behind him, but was only beginning. Autumn sunlight poured across Houston 6 months later, warming the sidewalks outside the Fifth Ward Community Center. Children's laughter echoed from the gymnasium long before the morning class officially began. The old building lacked polished trophies, expensive equipment, and luxury membership fees. Yet it possessed something the prestigious academy had forgotten years earlier. Every person who entered was welcomed with equal respect. Marcus Ellison unlocked the front doors before sunrise, smiling quietly as families gathered outside, carrying water bottles, backpacks, cars, and hopeful expectations. The new program was called Rising Ground. Marcus deliberately avoided flashy slogans or promises of producing champions. His curriculum focused on self-control, confidence, awareness, and personal responsibility. Physical techniques existed only to protect life when every peaceful option had failed. Children from different neighborhoods trained side by side, regardless of family income or athletic ability. Veterans volunteered regularly. Local teachers recommended struggling students. Parents noticed remarkable changes within weeks. Confidence replaced fear. Discipline replaced anger. Respect became stronger than intimidation. Vanessa Reed accepted a new position coordinating community outreach while continuing her legal education at night. Alicia Bennett volunteered monthly, teaching families about workplace rights, digital harassment, and the importance of documenting abuse responsibly. Nathan Brooks served as an advisor, helping the nonprofit organization secure grants supporting free classes for military families and disadvantaged youth. What began as one painful story gradually evolved into a movement dedicated to preventing similar harm before it could begin. Meanwhile, the investigation into Brooks Elite Combat Center reached its conclusion. State regulators suspended the Academy's operating license after documenting repeated violations involving safety procedures, employee treatment, and unauthorized commercial use of participants. Sponsors permanently ended business relationships with Cameron. Gregory eventually sold the property, ending an era built upon reputation rather than character. The impressive building remained standing, but the culture sustaining it had quietly collapsed under the weight of its own choices. Cameron disappeared from public attention for several months. Then one afternoon, Marcus learned through mutual acquaintances that Cameron had quietly enrolled as a beginner at a small martial arts school outside the city. He trained anonymously, wore a plain white belt, and rarely spoke about his past. Reporters occasionally requested Marcus's opinion regarding Cameron's situation. Marcus always answered the same way. Every person deserved the opportunity to learn from failure if genuine change followed honest reflection. Real growth never began with public applause. It began with humility. One Saturday morning, a nervous 12-year-old boy approached Marcus before class. The child admitted classmates regularly mocked him because he seemed quiet and avoided arguments. He asked whether staying calm meant people would always see him as weak. Marcus knelt until they stood at the same height. He explained that loudness often attracted attention, but steady character earned lasting respect. Strength was never measured by how many people someone defeated. It was measured by how consistently they protected others without losing themselves. After class ended, parents thanked Marcus while children helped clean the training floor without being asked. Marcus accepted a mop from one of the youngest students and quietly finished the final rows himself. The familiar rhythm brought unexpected memories flooding back. Months earlier, that same simple tool had represented humiliation in another building across town. Today it represented leadership through example. No task became smaller because someone successful performed it. Honest work remained honorable regardless of who held the handle. Later that evening, Marcus stood alone inside the empty gym after turning off most of the lights. Framed photographs of smiling students now covered one wall where championship banners might have hung elsewhere. Handwritten thank you notes from families decorated another. They celebrated confidence restored, friendships formed, and courage discovered. Marcus realized those messages carried greater value than every trophy displayed inside the academy that had once mocked him. Legacy was never built through fear. It grew quietly through service. Before locking the doors, Marcus looked across the peaceful training floor one final time. He remembered every insult, every difficult choice, every moment restraint had demanded greater courage than retaliation. None of those experiences defined his future anymore. They had simply prepared him to help others avoid similar pain. As he switched off the final light, children's voices from earlier classes seemed to linger warmly inside the empty room. True strength had never been about dominating another person. It had always been about protecting dignity, especially when nobody expected it. If this story reminded you that character matters more than status, share your thoughts in the comments. Tell us where you are watching from, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with someone who could use a little hope today.